Good evening, everyone. This is Mellissa Thomas with Florida National News. Thank you for tuning in to the Evening News Rundown. As always, we'd like to start you guys off with the latest COVID-19 cases and deaths globally here in the United States and in the state of Florida. So jumping to the global reports, the World Health Organization is currently reporting over 8.2 million confirmed cases. They're seeing over 445,000 confirmed deaths. Here in the United States, according to Johns Hopkins, they're reporting over 2.1 million confirmed cases and over 118,000 confirmed deaths. Here in the state of Florida, according to the Florida Department of Health's dashboard, we are seeing approaching 86,000 confirmed cases and 3,061 confirmed deaths. Now, jumping into our world news story for today, Beijing is experiencing another soft shutdown. Now, their cases, obviously, you heard us talk about the increase that they recently experienced, particularly after they had just started to reopen. Over the past week, they've already tallied over 137 cases in the capital city. That's a big jump. They've upgraded their response back to level 2. Originally, it was level 3 when things were beginning to reopen. So now it's back to level 2. Flights are now canceled. Schools are closing again. Things are shutting back down. There are 29 neighborhoods that are currently fenced off right now in the name of social distancing and containment in terms of preventing a further spread of the coronavirus. Now, more than 1,200 inbound and outbound flights from Beijing's 2 airports, they've been canceled, which accounts for almost 70% of their trips. So that's a big impact. The national railway operator, they're allowing passengers to and from Beijing, to refund their tickets without any fees or anything, because of course, all travel is stopped right now. City officials have limited public places such as libraries, museums, art galleries, and parks to only 30% capacity. So again, soft shutdown, not a full one. Now, essentially, the rest of Beijing's residents have been told to avoid, quote, non-essential travel outside of the city. And in an interesting update, Tianjin City, which is next door to Beijing, they reported one locally transmitted case of coronavirus on Wednesday as well. This person did not travel, and he or she was not in recent contact with anyone who tested positive for it. However, the person works in a hotel and works with seafood on a regular basis. So as of right now, China is basically banning any salmon that's coming in that's being imported from Europe, because that's one of the sources that they believe is bringing in the newer cases of COVID-19. So again, we'll continue to keep you guys updated on that. Jumping over here to the United States, the state of Arizona, the Arizona governor, Doug Ducey, is leaving it up to local municipalities to determine face mask requirements. Now, as of right now, he made this announcement in a press conference Wednesday. So he's leaving the face covering policies and the enforcement to local bodies. So right now, Flagstaff, Tolson, and Tucson, they have already directed their city attorneys to amend their emergency declarations to include the requirement for face coverings. And in Phoenix, Mayor Kate Gallego, she announced on Twitter Wednesday afternoon that the Phoenix City Council will vote on whether or not to mandate face masks for their residents in terms of essential businesses and public places. In other cities in Arizona, the Mesa mayor, John Giles, he'll issue a proclamation that is going to require the use of masks within that city. And Tempe's outgoing mayor, Mark Mitchell, also announced that face masks will be required there in places of public accommodation. So as you guys heard us report earlier this week, Arizona was seeing huge spikes in a second wave of its own in terms of COVID-19. So they wanted to make sure that folks adhere to the safety policies. So right now, on a statewide basis, the governor is not making a statewide requirement, but within the various cities, requirements are being activated. So if you're over there and you're watching this from over there, this is your heads up. That's going to be something that is in place there. Now, jumping here to the state of Florida, a bit of unfortunate news for some of our firefighters. 7 Orlando firefighters have tested positive for COVID-19. This was announced on Wednesday. Now, these firefighters that tested positive were actually exhibiting symptoms already before the announcement was made. So as of right now, they are isolated, and 32 of the new hires that were brought on Monday were also self-isolated, as the fire chief, Benjamin Barksdale Jr., announced in terms of those who have been quarantined. As of right now, in total, there are 64 people in quarantine from the fire department with regards to that and the people they've been in contact with. Now, on Wednesday, the Florida Department of Health was reporting the total number of cases. You heard us report the numbers, of course. The cases had risen to over 82,000 in the state of Florida, and that's over 2,600 since Tuesday. So again, as Orlando Mayor Buddy Dyer said, nobody needs to be complacent with regards to the COVID-19 safety requirements. Please continue to practice social distancing, guys. Please wear your masks and please wear your gloves and wash your hands as often as possible. Use hand sanitizer as often as possible. Now that does it for the COVID-19 stories. So we're going to take a quick commercial break and bring you some of the non-COVID-19 news. We'll be right back.
I'm not picking it up. You pick it up.
I'm not picking it up.
Well, somebody's got to pick it up.
I'll pick it up. They're clean. 'Cause my hand is clean. Oh yeah, I'm Charmin Clean. That's how I know they're clean.
Charmin Ultra Strong is woven like a washcloth and just cleans better.
Yeah, I'm Charmin
The
Clean.
kid does have a
That's
point.
My hand is clean.
Enjoy the go with Charmin. And for an extra clean finish, try Charmin Flushable Wipes.
All right, guys, welcome back. Thanks for sticking with us. Now, the big story, one of the big stories anyway, coming out of the United States is the Senate GOP unveiling their police reform bill, the Justice Act. Senator Tim Scott, who was the only African-American GOP senator, he was in charge of writing the bill that is come to be known as the Justice Act. So the Senate's bill is a little more moderate than what we reported on with the House bill. For one, the Senate's bill does not openly, completely ban chokeholds. However, what they did was they took from President Trump's executive order and chose to do it by way of funding or retracting funding specifically. So in their bill, the police departments that use chokeholds, they would actually be barred from receiving assistant federal funding, that they would be denied any access to such grants or any kind of federal funding as an incentive to not incorporate the chokeholds. Senator Scott said, quote, "If you think about the inability to have any grants if your department has chokeholds, that frankly is by default a ban on chokeholds." We'll leave that to you, the audience, to kind of chime in and answer our audience question about that. But a few more details about the bill. The bill would also require police departments to keep and update disciplinary information on officers and share it with other departments when officers try to get jobs. But unlike the House bill, or unlike President Trump's executive order, it doesn't call for a national database to track complaints against individual officers. It focuses on data collection about other contentious police practices, including the no-knock warrants and the use of force that results in serious injury or death. So those are ways that the bills are similar. However, this is going to be a point of controversy. The bill does not include a provision to eliminate qualified immunity, which is, of course, what the biggest push is with the protests, because, of course, qualified immunity is a legal mechanism that protects police officers, from being personally liable for their actions while on the job. So, again, leave your comments below. We'd love to hear from you, regardless of how you feel about it. Yay, nay, any side of the argument. We would love to hear from you. We'd love to see what you guys think about this. And of course, the other major difference between the House bill and the Senate bill is the use of federal funding. So, of course, the Senate bill kind of mimics the president's executive order in that way. The House bill does not promise federal funding in any version or any kind to any of the police departments across the country, any law enforcement departments across the country. Whereas the GOP bill, the Senate bill, would provide funding through the Justice Department grants for new training and de-escalation programs. So that's another key difference. Another thing that's important to note here for the GOP bill is that it would increase the penalties for false police reports, and it creates a commission on the social status of Black men and boys. Now, the commission is something that is bipartisan, and it would report on conditions that affect African American men, like education, healthcare, and the criminal justice system. So we will continue to hear more about that. And of course, the one key thing that will be agreed upon on all sides of this argument is that the bill would make lynching a federal crime. So again, guys, be sure to leave your comments on the differences between the two bills. Do you think this is a good thing? Do you think this needs to be more improved upon? Senator McConnell is fast tracking the bill and plans to bring it to the floor next week. Now, Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer was saying, quote, the bill does not meet the moment, but he said he wouldn't block the bill from being brought to the floor. And the House is expected to vote on their bill as early as next week as well. Both parties want to have some form of policing reform bill get to the president's desk by the July 4th recess. So we'll continue to keep you guys updated on that. Okay. Now, jumping down to Florida in terms of a non-COVID-19 related story, Governor Ron DeSantis signed an executive order on Wednesday urging schools to close during the 2020 primary and the 2020 general election. Now, there are two reasons why he chose to do this. Number one, he wants the schools to be available as precincts, as voting precincts, because he feels that this particular election is going to have a high voter turnout. That's reason number one. Number two, he would like the staff and administrators of the various schools to also put in time as voting attendants, as poll workers, I should say. He wants to beef up poll workers as well, because of course, the entire nation watched what happened in Georgia during their primaries, and Governor DeSantis is trying his best to not repeat that. So that's a quick update where that is concerned. That's it for our non-COVID-19 stories as it relates to US and Florida. We're going to take one more quick commercial break. And again, leave a comment in answer to our audience question of your thoughts on the various police reform bills. We'll be right back.
All this time we fought side by side. We trained together. We lost together. And now, you're the only one standing in my way. It's been a while, old friend.
Welcome back, guys, to the Evening News Rundown. Thanks for sticking with us. Now, jumping to our business story today, AT&T's 5G coverage will cover nationwide this summer. That's actually a lot sooner than some people might have thought. But so far, the 5G network, it covered 120 million people at the end of the first quarter and currently covers more than 160 million people in 327 markets. But by summer, it'll cover the entire country. So this is, of course, some exciting news, particularly for those who are in more rural areas and kind of struggle with cell phone reception or wireless reception for internet use. And of course, the invention of 5G is not only to increase Wi-Fi speeds and cell phone reception speeds, it's also meant to increase or facilitate the proliferation of artificial intelligence. So the technology was developed to continue to develop AI as well, and the data transfer that's going to be required for various AI software and AI machines that are going to be in development. So, ladies and gentlemen, for the nerds out there, Skynet is coming. Or technically, Skynet is here. But anyway, I digress. But congrats to AT&T on that announcement. So far, the folks there have announced that AT&T grew beyond 80% completion of its planned FirstNet build. So that's 1.3 million FirstNet subscribers across more than 12,000 agencies. Some big numbers and big news for AT&T there. So congrats to AT&T on that. Of course, 5G is estimated to be between 5 and 100 times faster than 4G because it uses a higher radio frequency. And ladies and gentlemen, as mysterious as COVID-19 is, no, 5G is not the cause of that. All right, so jumping over to our sports news, and we actually have two bits of sports news for you guys today. But the first item is that President Trump actually weighed in on the possibility of Colin Kaepernick's return to the NFL. He says he would, quote, absolutely support Colin Kaepernick returning to the NFL. He, lent some support on Wednesday, saying that, quote, he would love to see him get another shot if he still has the skills to play in the league. So, he said that during an interview with Sinclair correspondent Scott Thuman, excuse me. He was asked about him, this was back in the day. This is 2016. He said something similar. He was saying, he didn't necessarily agree with the taking a knee, but he wouldn't mind, Colin Kaepernick still having a job in NFL as long as he could play, So if he deserves it, if he has the playing ability, he should get that other shot. So that's President Trump's answer with that. He just doesn't want to see Colin Kaepernick be brought back into the NFL and not have the chops to play, as sort of like a pity thing, as he put it. A good PR move is what he said. So that's it for that item. But item number 2, Orlando City Soccer Club announced today that it will officially recognize Juneteenth as a club-wide holiday. So the offices will be closed tomorrow for Juneteenth, and it will become an annual holiday club-wide. So a bit of news there. Congratulations to Orlando City Soccer for recognizing that holiday. Now, before we get into our entertainment story, of course, our entertainment 4 for 4 with Jamesia Stoudemire, we're going to take one more quick commercial break. We'll be right back.
At Taco John's, you can expect one thing so good, as in quality ingredients used in tacos and burritos made just for you. Every single bite.
So good.
Expect nothing less at Taco John's.
All right, guys, our entertainment 4 for 4 is coming up. Thank you so much for tuning in. Our lovely Jamesia Stoudemire out of Los Angeles is here to give us our entertainment news. How you doing?
Hey, good afternoon, Mellissa. How are you doing this afternoon?
Doing good. Good to see you.
All righty, guys. Again, this is Entertainment 4 for 4, and this is Jamesia Stoudemire with your Entertainment 4 for 4. So, number 1, DACA. Actually, today, the Supreme Court of the United States just ruled that all the DACA, which the DACA Act, which DACA stands for Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals. So those were considered dreamers, and dreamers are pretty much undocumented immigrants that were brought into the United States as children. So today, the United States Supreme Court has ruled that those children that had came into the United States underneath that act have granted the ability to stay in the United States, and so they will not be deported. And under that ruling came with a 5-4 ruling, which actually blocked, or quote unquote trumping, President Trump's actions to try to get rid of that act that came underneath, that was brought to action underneath the Obama era. So a lot of celebrities today: Viola Davis, John Legend, we have Mark Ruffalo, Bobby Burke, and Kerry Washington all celebrated. And I'm going to actually read Viola Davis's tweet. She tweeted, "Now this is America living up to its promise. To all the dreamers, I celebrate with you today." So congratulations to all those immigrants and dreamers that will be able to stay here in the United States underneath that act. Unfortunately, this act, there is no more new applications, but those that had applied underneath that act before it closed, I believe actually a year ago or so. It's been an ongoing situation, but it is closed, but those that were underneath it are safe in the United States. Going on to number 2. Hollywood says Black Lives Matter, yet more diversity is needed. Recently, Michael B. Jordan, in a protest, brought to light that the industry is policing our storytelling, and really what that means and what he was trying to say is that there's a very few African Americans or even people of color in positions of power within the entertainment industry. So in the leading acting roles this year, underneath the diversity survey that takes place every year, we are up. African American lead roles of acting is up. However, it is very extremely low when it comes to senior executive producers or senior executive roles that are in studios. And right now, 93% of that is occupied by white people, and 80% of that is men. So definitely there is a lot of diversity that needs to take place in Hollywood, and that's just highlighting one one aspect of the things that are going on in Hollywood, but definitely a lot of stars, and Hollywood is not staying on the sidelines. They're definitely getting in there and letting it be known that things need to take place. Even the Oscars have recently stated that they'll be they'll be adding new eligibility standards to some of their voting, to their entry process to be a nominee, which will allow more people or more diversity to be included into that award opportunity. As you know, in past years, there's been many statements that the Oscars was too white, which was a hashtag that took place, I believe, 2 years ago. So that is definitely something you can read more about that on AP News. But going on to number 3. Viral singer of the Black Anthem gets signed. Keydron Bryant, 12-year-old, just signed his first deal to Warner Brother Records. His song actually was written, it became a Black Anthem after this viral. So he actually posted this video of him singing this song in his house on May 26th, and it has gone viral. It was actually reposted by former President Barack Obama, as well as many other celebrities, and as many singers and celebrities have gone to, do covers of this actual single. So Warner Records has signed him, and this song will actually be releasing this Friday in co-celebration of Juneteenth. So congratulations to Keydron Bryant. He is 12, and actually that song was written by his mother after they had watched the video of George Floyd passing away underneath police violence. So that is an awesome thing. We celebrate that young gentleman and this young king. So may he go on to do amazing other things. And number 4, DC Universe podcast to stream exclusively on Spotify. So some cool things going on. As you all know, Spotify is mostly known for streaming music. But in the recent quarter, they've actually been targeting more podcasts. So now they're expanding that podcast library to add DC Universe characters. So right now what they've done is created a multi-deal with Spotify, Warner Brothers, and DC. And this is giving them the right to create stories based off of the current DC characters. So they haven't announced which characters will be getting their own podcast, but some of the options that could be, we could get Batman, Wonder Woman, Superman, possibly Joker. They just did the movie with the Joker. Everyone's loving the Joker right now. So that is a possibility. But they haven't announced which character will get the podcast first or which ones will be coming out. But Spotify is definitely growing, and they just actually got some other shows. They have the Joe Rogan show exclusively, the LA Ringer, and they also are getting a co-produced criminal justice show a criminal justice show that is co-produced by Kim Kardashian. So that'll be exclusively on Spotify too. And another cool thing for those that are really in the podcast lane or want to have their own podcast show, the Sweden company is actually opening their own office in downtown Los Angeles, which inside the office will have a live studio for people to record podcasts. So, if you're in the LA area, you may want to check that out. But again, this is Jamesia Stoudemire. I want to say happy celebration of Juneteenth to everyone out there. May you guys celebrate safely. Make sure you guys are safe out there wearing your mask, and however you may celebrate, maybe with family or at protests or different picnics. But make sure you tune into Versus TV. We talked about that Tuesday with Alicia Keys and John Legend. That'll be at VERZUZ TV. And thank you again. This is Jamesia Stoudemire. You can follow me at THE_ENT_MOGUL. Mellissa, back over to you.
Thank you so much, Jamesia. Appreciate you. It's always a pleasure to see you. All right, guys, thank you so much for tuning in to the Entertainment News Rundown. That does it for us here at the Evening News Rundown, and just a quick programming note for you guys for tomorrow. Typically, our lovely Jenny Rosario de Casiano would be on at 1 p.m. tomorrow. She will actually have a special episode on Saturday at 1 p.m. So we'll be coming on live at 1 p.m. Saturday instead of Friday. However, our typical Friday programming will continue on. I'll be back on at 5 p.m. Eastern for the Evening News Rundown, and Casey will be back with the FNN Sports Take at 8 p.m. Now, if you haven't already, Be sure to like us on Facebook. You can find us at FNN News Live, at FNN News TV, at Florida National News. And be sure to subscribe on YouTube at Florida National News over there and click the bell icon to make sure you get all of our notifications for all of our shows. All right, so far, thank you so much for tuning in today. Hope you have a great rest of your Thursday afternoon. Take care.